so you select the Navy and obviously go to Great Lakes, as lovingly referred to as Great Mistakes. Was it summer or winter time when you went?
Here's how dumb I am. I joined, let's see, I signed the papers in October
Mm-hmm.
and then I left in January.
Whoo,
So I remember,
boy.
yeah, left in January. I think this is actually the timestamp I have for it. I'm from Jersey. I live like maybe 10 minutes from 10, 15 minutes from Giant Stadium.
Okay.
And I'm a huge Giants fan. And Eli and the boys were going up against, they just beaten Dallas. And I was very excited about it in the playoffs.
Oh yeah,
And then
that's a big
it
deal.
was going to be, oh, it was huge. And then we actually were going to play Favre and the Packers in Green Bay. And I missed the game because I reported early to boot camp.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
damn.
then, literally, maybe a week later, I think it was a week after I showed up there. That's when all the other guys showed up and they're like, "Oh my god, it was the greatest game ever! I can't believe you missed it." Blah blah blah. And then I missed the Super Bowl. So
Uh, oh man, that's the worst.
worth it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they'll record the game and you can relive it in all its glory later on. But
I had to buy
there's
it on
something missing.
DVD.
Buy it on DVD. Good grief. Well, you had mentioned you've spent some time over in the Middle East. I would like to think that you bought like a bootleg DVD, like off of a carpet in an alleyway somewhere. Um, okay, so you get there in January. Boot camp's about 2 months. So what? You graduated in March, and then was your A school across the street?
Well, my school was across the street, but I think we graduated St. Patrick's Day weekend.
Oh, okay, yeah, very
Yeah,
timely.
I want to say that's when it was. So that would have been 2008, I think.
Okay.
Because I joined. I technically swore in. It was weird. It was a strange time where it was between two presidents. So I
Oh
swore in
right.
under George W. Bush, and then I actually showed up to serve under Obama.
Oh, wild, wild. Yeah, that's
Yeah, a
pretty big
little
change.
different chain of command coming in there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and especially in boot camp where you really are drilled on knowing your chain of command, like there's a whole section of that that gets wiped out, January 20th ish, somewhere in there, right?
Do you think you could probably remember the boot camp chain of command if like you were being waterboarded right now?
Not a single, couldn't name a single person.
Rear Admiral Lotring. That's the guy I can always. I'll never forget him. I never met him, but I just remember his name for some reason.
Yeah, yeah. Well, in the chain of command, I mean, there was really like Navy Educational Training Command. It's like, okay, why are they in the hierarchy? Aren't they just some weird satellite thing that,
It's like when you
yeah.
had to pretend your librarian was a teacher too.
Yeah, yeah. Why do I have to call her Mrs. Anything? Can't it be a first name basis? Yeah. Oh, man. Well, and time that you went in, did they still have utilities or were you in blueberries?
Oh, utilities. Blueberries didn't come in until I had a break in service actually.
Oh,
It was weird. So I showed up on a national call to service contract. And you're like one of the only people I can tell this story to, and it makes any sense.
okay.
But national call to service was post 9/11. It was for people who had already graduated from college and just wanted to serve for a couple of years and then get put into the reserves.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
not to try to get political, but it tends to be that Republicans bolster the military and Democrats kind of scale it down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, what the Democratic idea was at the time for Obama's vision for the military was a, a very deep reserve unit, if you will.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
they were big on that. It's like, oh, because we don't have to pay you as much, is pretty much what it was. But
True.
so what they had me do is I did my I showed up. I did I guess it was just short of 2 years on the USS Carney, and then
Mm-hmm.
they had me report to the reserve side, and then in the reserve side, the idea being I was just going to drill just once a month or whatever,
Yeah.
and then of course they never planned correctly, as you know, and
Nope.
I wound up getting scooped up into a unit that got reactivated maybe a year after I reported the reserve unit. So we wound up over in Dubai doing that thing.
Oh wow. Wow,
Yeah, it was
that's
goofy.
wild. So, the Carney, that was down in Jacksonville or Mayport.
Yeah, that was Mayport. So my
Okay.
entire Navy career was between the two bases in Jacksonville, which is pretty funny. Um,
Yeah.
so,
They
and
didn't.
I have a weird love for that city.
Yeah, yeah. I yeah, I did some of my reserve training down in Mayport, once maybe once a year, go down there with that unit and shoot whatever else. So I know tiny little Mayport a little bit. Um
We probably shot at the same range then. That's funny.
yeah, yeah. Um so yeah, it's, hey, like they say, it's a small navy, right?
For sure.
So okay, and then you get sent over to Dubai. How long were you over in Dubai for?
Well, it was weird because the time on the Carney was great, but the Carney was in between deployments when I was there. So I
Oh,
never
okay.
really, the only places they took me was Little Creek, Virginia. And
Makes sense.
um, yeah, that was pretty wild. That was actually one of the great Navy stories ever. I
Oh,
was,
yeah.
you haven't asked yet, but I'll tell you what, I'll circle back to
Sure.
that.
Yeah. The more sea stories, the better.
Oh, it's always good. But yeah, so I saw Virginia, and then they took me to New York City,
Nice.
which is hilarious because I remember my chief yelling at me, like one of my last days in the Navy, and I was like, he goes, Burke, if you don't change those coveralls, because I had dirty engineering coveralls, like disgusting ones, and I was topside.
Oh, okay. Yeah, kind of like you're supposed to. I mean,
Yeah,
that's the whole
he
point.
was he was a great guy. I love him very much. He's a master chief now, and I
Damn.
look back on a lot of the things that I argued with him about, and I realized what a fool I was. But on that particular thing, he was being an ass.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Even the best can't bat a thousand. So, you know, sometimes
exactly.
they're out of line.
Well, he told me, he goes, Burke, I'm going to throw you overboard. And I looked around because we were like in the Hudson River, like you can see between Jersey and Manhattan. And
Yeah.
I was like, do it, Chief. I'll swim home. I don't give
Yeah.
a fuck. You know?
Yeah. I'm right there.
But that part was cool. So we went to New York, and then this is how funny the Navy is. The Navy told me I had to have um, so I had terminal leave saved up, but I
Mhm.
couldn't go on terminal leave until I want to say it was like September. I want to say it was September 9th was when I
Okay.
was able to go on terminal leave. But we pulled into port on September 7th. So they made me, they're like, no, you're not allowed to leave, but you have to go out and hang out in New York City for the 7th and the 8th. So, yeah.
Makes perfect sense.
Oh, it was great. We hung out. We had a good time. Me and my buddies, we hit Yankee Stadium. We went out. We did
Nice.
it was a good time. I got them super drunk.
Well, that's what are you supposed to do? What are shipmates for? Come on.
What's the best port you ever wound up drinking in terms of where the people just loved having you there? Because New York loves seeing you, whereas like Virginia is like, oh, these fuckers again.
Yeah, well, I see. I was master at arms, so I was never on a ship. I drove security boats, so wherever I was kind of plopped there. So I never really went to any cool ports. Um, uh, Bahrain, Bahrain was kind of cool. I mean, I'm sure they liked our money. I'm sure you can relate
That's
with
how it
that
works.
experience being in Dubai. But actually, when I got off active duty and I went on terminal leave, I rerouted my flight. So, of course, you have to fly home to your home of record, but I spent a few extra bucks to stop over in Wisconsin because I had an aunt and uncle there and I had a grandfather. And I kind of figured, like, if I don't do this now, like, I'm never going to see the grandfather again. Like, he just was older. Turned out I was right. Anyway,
Oh, brutal.
so my uncle says, "Oh, well, I want to take you to church with me," and I'm not a real church goer, and I didn't really have anything to wear. I was like, "Oh, I could wear my dress whites," like, and I had worn them like on the flight because I thought this maybe I'll get bumped up to first class. It'll be the last time I'll be treated as a human being on an airplane ever again. So certainly being in landlocked Wisconsin in dress whites, yeah, people wanted to talk to you and were super cool. But that was the very twilight of my Navy time. But
As soon as you I realized that once you were in a place that had a base, they didn't care anymore at all.
exactly.
Yeah. Because I remember showing up in uniform. I showed my military ID to a woman at TSA, and she was like, "Oh, just an awful." Um,
Goes without saying.
she was terrible. But she just goes, she goes, "Okay." And I sat there, I was like, I'm very, very late for a flight right now. And I showed her my itinerary and everything like that. And she goes, okay, like that. And I was like, all right, so I guess nothing,
Yeah.
nothing. Chicago will literally stop a flight for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
New York will, you can't, they're going to bump you up to first class. They're going to serve you drinks on the plane, all that. Like, there's so many cities that are, it's the further removed they are from the military, the cooler they wind up being. It's so weird.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, anything that you see constantly you're going to take for granted, especially people in uniform. It's like, "Oh, well, you're late for your flight. What else? You got a, car loan at fucking 18%, or whatever." So, you know, yeah, they tend to get quite a bit more cynical. But cool.
It's a whole sub economy based off of us.
Exactly, exactly. Amazing what yeah, what hangers on you have when you have a consistent paycheck. Um, so drinking in New York City, your last 2 days on active before terminal kicks in. Did they do something crazy like send you back to Jacksonville before you could out process?
No, it was pretty cool. It was they let me get, it was actually one of the best days of my life. So
Wow.
the day prior was so my birthday September 11th. So I think September 10th
Wow.
I got out of the Navy.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
the first time. And then so September 9th was either the 9th or the 10th. Me and two of my really good buddies, we went out into, I took them up to the Bronx. And I was like, guys, I know where to go. I'm kind of pseudo from here.
Yeah.
So we went up to the Bronx, went to Yankee Tavern, and we're sitting there having a couple of drinks in Yankee Tavern. And then all of a sudden, everybody in the bar just keeps sending drinks down to us
Oh
to the
man.
point where, the bartender was just stacking empty shot glasses in front of us to indicate how many free drinks were bought.
Holy crap.
So my one buddy got toasted. I was pretty lit, but I'm not trying to sound cool. I just have a very high tolerance.
Well, you
Um,
had a lot of practice. You were in the Navy.
it's because I'm a terrible person. uh, but so my two buddies, they got a little bit lit up. Then the bartender who was there, she actually, we can't figure out if she was lying to us or not, but she told us that she used to work the grounds crew at Yankee Stadium.
Oh wow.
So we then went over there and she goes, "Oh, and here's how it works. You just go up to them and go to this particular ticket booth, and that's who handles, like, they want military people on camera." So they wound up getting us there. It was I want to say it was Sunday Night Baseball.
Hmm.
I think it was against the Red Sox, and it was Jeter tied the all-time Yankees hits record.
Wow. What a game.
Y- Yeah, it was a fun one. So we were pretty tuned up for that. We were maybe 10 rows back from third base. It was awesome. It's the best seats I ever had in my life.
Oh yeah. It's incredible.
So then the very, like, 2 days later, after I got off the Navy, which, by the way, that side note, that was a wonderful day. My whole family came out to the ship and everything. They got a full tour.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, everybody, if they could just tell I was going to be missed on board. I was a personality. I'll say that much.
Yeah. That's great.
But but then 2 days later, I'm there when Jeter broke the all-time Yankees hits record with my buddy Tristan, and we're up in, like, the third deck, if you will, in
Yeah.
right field, and we stopped at Yankee Tavern. And I remember trying to get two shots of Jameson, and I handed the bartender a 20.
Hmm.
And the bartender looks at me and goes, "Where's the rest of it?" I was like, "Holy shit! How much did it?" I realized that was probably a $200-300 bar tab we rung up that we didn't pay for shit when we were in uniform.
Wow.
Yeah, but
Wow.
show up in your Jabba Chamberlain jersey, and they're just they can't wait to make sure you pay every dime of that one.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, they probably have some sort of take a certain amount of the bar tab, payment and put it towards, being able to buy service members drinks. So now you're, refinancing that.
Oh, it
Awesome.
was rough. Yeah.
So, so this is the first time you got out was when you were in New York, or that was the second time?
So that was the first time. So I got out then, and then I was supposed to report to a reserve. It was funny too because I had orders to the Bronx at first, and
Oh, it's the worst nosk, I can tell you.
I'm glad I avoided it then. It was funny though because I had orders up there, but I was still living in Florida. So I was like, guys, I can't go. I live in Florida, and I remember having to change my what'd you say, home of origin or
Home of record, or for the reserves, they call it a trick change.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to, I could have gotten a flight home to Jersey, which would have been great. But
Hmm.
I didn't need one because the ship literally brought me up to Jersey. So I changed my home. At the time, I was living with a girl down there too. So
Okay.
I was Jacksonville is going to be my home for a couple of years.
Okay.
I went into welding school, and then I was showing up like one weekend a month. I think for the first 3 to 4 months, I wasn't getting paid from the reserves.
Ah, I hate it when they do that.
That sounds familiar to you, Andrea?
Yes, yes. Oh, yeah, your pay's screwed up, or yeah, you gotta talk to someone, or well, you haven't been gained yet, but you still gotta come in. It's yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah.
Well, it got to the point where I was telling him because when you got out, did you get unemployment like I did, or?
No, I went right to school. Like within a couple of weeks of terminal leave ending, I was sitting
Oh,
in a
damn! All
classroom.
right.
So
Well, I had to wait because they had just put the GI Bill, the post 9/11 GI Bill had just come through.
oh yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah, 2008. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So they told me because I was going to welding school at the time, and they were like, "Oh, don't worry, your payments are gonna come through. You're gonna get paid to come here, but um, blah blah blah. Just gotta wait it out or whatever, and you need to pay up front now so that we can pay you back later."
Oh
And
my god.
I remember having like $4 to my name, but
Yeah. Oh yeah.
it,
It's
one of the
wild.
it, oh, they were brutal, and probably the worst weekend I had was I did a full drill weekend. They told me like, "Hey, you haven't been getting paid. You got to go talk to these people." And then nobody was there because it was the weekend. And
Of
they're like, "Oh, you got to
course.
come. Yeah, you got to come back on Monday and talk to these people." And I said, "Well, I'm going to be in school during this time frame." And then also, I was against my unemployment. I was putting my reserve pay in, trying to be a good person and doing it the right way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Saying, "Oh yeah, I made $250 this week," and I'm like, "Oh cool." And are you going back to? They just don't understand the reserves when you
Yeah.
try to. So like literally the guy who was helping me with it at Florida unemployment would just he was a Filipino guy, and he goes, if I was you, I would know you don't claim the weekends, you know."
Yeah. Well, I mean, Filipino and anything Navy go hand in hand, so that guy knew
They
what he was
run it
talking about.
all. They are our Illuminati.
They really are. Holy Santa Claus shit. It's like, what? You made HMC in 3.5 years? Like, what? They're
Some
amazing.
of the best food and some of the hardest workers I've ever seen in my life. So I'm just grateful we have them.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, somebody's got to run the Navy. It's not going to be me. Holy
Well, that
shit.
was their trade school, pretty much.
Yeah,
That always made me laugh. That was like that was their thing to go on to do post high school.
yeah. Well, hey, why not? It's they've got people in every rate. They know stuff, know their jobs inside and out. It's great. It's a good setup. So
A lot of boatswains, mates. Let's be honest.
that too. Yeah, plenty of them. So welding school. I guess welding is a pretty natural transition from hull technician. But how did you finish the school, or that's what you wanted to ultimately end up doing, or what was going on, especially with the unemployment angle?
Yeah, so unemployment eventually started to come through, and it was nuts because again, there was a few times when I had like $4 to $5 left to my name, and then a
Wow.
back payment would come in for a couple $100. So that was always kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, we made it work. Girl I was with at the time, she was going through her student teaching thing,
Okay.
so she wasn't around much. And then it was a weird time frame because I was waking up before her, but then I was getting done before her.
Hmm.
Um, and then like she was pretty much beat from doing the student teacher thing. And
Oh
then
yeah.
it was like a weird time because I think I was done by 1 o'clock every day.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, so there's this weird thing where it's like I'm waking up at 6 a.m. every day and going out and welding for, however many hours, in a little booth trying to learn your stuff and figure everything else out
Yeah.
and pass these. But there's a weird disconnect where it was because I was home and I'd be watching TV when she got there that she almost dismissed that I was doing anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't. She's not seeing it firsthand, so it must not be happening. So yeah.
Yeah, so we had to have a couple of battles about that one. I was like, okay, so if you want to trade with me one day, I'll go hang out with little kids and teach them how to do math.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah. Exactly. Kids are
I'll go be
hilarious.
Yeah. I'll go be the second teacher in a room for a little bit while you try to do an overhead weld. And
Yeah.
overhead's actually what broke me. I couldn't do it.
Really?
Yeah, I could not do overhead. Overhead pipe welding was a deal breaker for me. I just couldn't, for whatever reason. I never learned it. It was
What about it is difficult, or what's the breaking point?
so when it's overhead, it's about I guess following the bead of the weld,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're trying to stay just ahead of it. Um, but then you're also pouring down like sparks onto your face.
Yeah.
So your natural reaction is to sit there and be like, "What the hell?"
Oh,
And
sure.
I think I was gun shy because I set myself on fire once during school.
Oh, yeah. That would do it for me. Good lord.
Yeah, I had a couple of frays at the bottom of my jeans, and the frays actually set on fire, and I think the flames were going up to my ankle.
Oh man.
But before I noticed them, I put it out right away, no damage. I singed a little bit of hair, but it was,
Oh, that would freak me out. Yeah.
it was everybody in the break room got a good kick out of it when they saw me, and I had all of a sudden I had a half a pair of shorts on.
Of course, comedy is what happens to other people, so and it's especially okay to laugh if you're still ambulatory after it. So
That's a good quote.
yeah. So okay, wow. And then how long have you been going to school, or how much school did you have left when you realized overhead welds weren't going to be in your toolkit?
Well, you needed to be able to do an overhead weld to pass the test to be a graduate from there, but you didn't have to be a graduate from that school to get work. So I actually
Okay.
wound up working. Oddly enough, I worked for BAE Systems,
Okay. Yeah.
so which I think you probably know.
That's yeah. I see them plastered all over the place. I'm thinking of yeah. There was a BAE there at Mayport. It's where like a lot of
They're
gearish and
either
shit comes from.
Yeah, they're either the biggest or the second biggest. I think they're the second biggest military defense contractor in the world.
Probably. Yeah.
So
They're freaking everywhere.
this will sound rude, Andrea. This will sound rude, but the job that I was working was hilarious. It was the USS McInerney,
Okay.
which was I think it was the oldest frigate that was in active use because the oldest frigate is the Constitution.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but
Yeah.
the oldest one prior to that was the McInerney that was still in active use as part of a fleet, and
Okay.
it got decommissioned and sold to Pakistan.
Ah,
Yeah.
isn't that nice? Where
So,
where they will honor that frigate's initial tradition of not allowing women to serve.
well, their navy's pretty crazy. I learned a little bit about it when I was there because when I was working in the
Okay.
shipyard, that was our job was to do a lot of the rework on there for them.
Sure.
So, um, but the funniest thing was watching their crews getting taught by former Navy guys coming on board there and teaching. First of all, the other weird thing we did, we took all the toilet paper rolls out and we put in bidets on everything because
Yeah, I know. That was like the biggest culture shock to me living in Bahrain. It's like, where's the toilet paper?
they love as soon as the guys that were work like because again it's just usual for that, but it's usually blue collar guys or a little uh, roughnecks, if you will. So
Sure. Sure.
we were explaining to these blue collar guys, whether they were black or white or anything like that, but we were explaining to these dudes that were used to having dirt under their fingernails.
Hmm.
Uh, hey, by the way, because they were shaking hands with the sailors that they met on board the ship, and I
Yeah.
remember just like explaining, I was like, "Oh, by the way, yeah, they wipe their ass with their hands."
Yeah.
And these guys all of a sudden, you've never seen a white redneck dude get more excited to do like a pound instead. We're just gonna do a pound here, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Just yeah. Well, and did you also have to remove all the toilets from the ship so it was just like a hole, or when you gave
I
it to
don't I
Pakistan?
don't think we had to do that. I think they had regular toilets, but it was just with like bidet type things on there, or they would have running water behind them that they could wipe their ass with. As
Fascinating.
as gross as that sounds.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't miss that odd proclivity of that side of the world. So
Nor should you.
no, no. Um, all right, so you're doing all this crazy stuff down in Jacksonville, and you said you were out for about a year before they scooped you back up and shipped you over to Dubai.
Well, because that's what cracked me up. I was a health technician, like you said, which the the term we get called on ships, right?
Snipe.
Turd chaser.
Oh, well, that too. That's more specific, you know. I guess.
Well, because anytime there was a clog, it would just be like, all right, get the HTs in here; they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and by the way, it was I have no problem with for some reason that form of work does not bug me, so I was never really grossed out by anything. Um, but I remember having to do that, and then reporting to my reserve unit. And the reserve unit again, they weren't paying me for a while, and they said, "Oh, you're actually supposed to go to this unit." And so I went over to go to that other unit, and they were like, "Oh, cool, you're going to be working in communications." And I said, "Well, that's not right."
Yeah.
And I remember this.
Big deal.
I wound up becoming friends with her afterwards, but she was a yeoman, and she was, for those who don't know, administrative office type person,
Mm-hmm.
and she was all right, but she was such a jerk off when I talked to her on the phone. She goes, "We need to understand why you're not showing up for your drill weekends." And I was like, who are you? Why are you? I don't understand what's happening right now."
Yeah.
And she told me, she goes, "Yeah, you're supposed to be a part of our communications department. We're going down to Cape Canaveral right now for a field exercise, and you're no showing." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know who the fuck you are. And by the way, if you think I'm going to Cape Canaveral for a field exercise, let me remind you, I clean toilets.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't
Exactly.
I don't do whatever you're asking for." And then, sure enough, she was actually right, and I was supposed to be down there. But
Oh, jeez. Gotta
but
love the disorganization of the Navy, especially reserve side.
well, how great is it that I got to show up? I remember, and I showed up my first weekend there, and they're like, "Oh, you have to go to Indoc." And I was like, "No, you don't understand. I'm not going to be here. I'm
Yeah.
not supposed to be here. I'm going back to my other unit." And they're like, "No, you have to go to Indoc, and then we'll sort it out afterwards." I was like, "No, why am I going to Indoc?" And I remember meeting everyone in Indoc, and they come by and like, the CL will shake your hand. They're like, "Sir, great to meet you. I'm sorry, I'm not going to serve under you. I'm heading back to my other unit. This is like a pay, miscommunication or whatever."
Yeah.
And then boom, there I was for the next year and a half.
Wow. Well, and that sounds just like the reserves. I mean, I was master at arms, but I mainly drove small security boats while I was on active duty, and then when I was reserves, it's like at least I did security stuff, so it wasn't completely foreign. It was still that
Right.
general thing. My last 2 years of service, they sent me to the Bronx, and they're like, "Okay, you're in a logistics unit," and it's like I have no idea what's going on. And they're like, "Well, we spent tons of money training you." I'm like, "Yeah, not on logistics. No idea what's happening right now."
Go make sure everyone has a cot to sleep on.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. It sounds like a personal issue to me. Like beg, borrow, and steal people. Wow.
LS has had it made on the ship. I was in when they just went from LS was a new term. They were storekeepers when I was first in the Navy, and then I
Okay.
was out for the 6 months. And when I came back in, they were LSs. But but that was a great gig. A couple of my friends, like my really good friends, one of them, hilarious guy. I'll even give him a shout out, Shane Graff. uh, Hilarious human being, great guy to hang with. He was a storekeeper, and he pretty much admitted, he goes, "Dude, I work my ass off for the first 2 hours of every day."
Yeah.
And he goes, "And after that, I play Madden."
That is fantastic.
But
It's a
he
great
was an
gig.
animal. He could get you anything you needed. He was a good guy to know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, once you and it's kind of like any job, you work hard until you learn how to work smarter and, you know, don't
This
have
is
to
the
worry about it.
dumbest question, and I can only ask you this because you also served. But I always try to explain it to people. I was like, there's. I'm not saying it's directly correlated, but there is something about when you watch the show Oz,
Okay.
and you're like, "Oh, I kind of get how this works," because
Yeah.
I watched Oz before the military and I watched Oz after the military, and I was like, "Oh wow, there's really a lot of similarities between prison and the military that I'm not comfortable admitting."
There's a great meme of when quarantine hit, I I have roommates, whatever else. I'm the only veteran, and I'm just like, I mean, this sucks, but I've got shit to do all day. I mean, this is no big deal being confined to one area. Whether you're on a ship or you're on restriction or
Right.
you're just in the military. It's like I'm used to being in an enclosed space and not doing shit all day. Everyone else was melting down and losing their minds, and it's like, yeah, veterans and prisoners, we did fine with that. It wasn't pleasant, but it wasn't the end of the
A lot of
world.
hikes with my dog. That's what it was.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If you
Yeah.
can get out, it's like, oh, that's like a cheat code. This isn't even a problem.
That I would always say this: if quarantine had happened to me in Florida, I would have been. I would have said it would have just been a party the whole time because
Oh yeah,
the way that we used to rate hurricanes was whatever category hurricane was coming through. That's how many cases of beer you had to have in the house.
smart. That's
Yeah.
probably why they developed that rating system. Think about it. Yeah,
Oh, it was so easy. It was fun too.
yeah, yeah. It's make a game out of it.
But
Works
quarantine hit up
perfectly.
here and it was friggin' March, and you had to
Oof.
sit there and be like, "Oh, it's miserable outside. No one wants to be outside for long." And then, like the first couple nice days, I'll say that much. I think no one ever appreciated a nice spring day more than any of the states above the Mason Dixon line. The
True.
first, yeah, during that first quarantine, if you will.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that first weekend going into it, I remember was actually pretty nice. Um, and then yeah, then it was just shit after that. But
Well, they had Murphy on, Governor Murphy, New Jersey's governor, who looks like Krang from the Ninja Turtles.
yeah, he
He
does.
I wanna not hate people, I really do, but then I just sit there and I hear this shit that comes out of his mouth, and I was like, "Oh my god, we have to
Yeah,
suffer more? You literally just said that?"
yeah.
So, but, yeah, he was telling people, he goes, "And if you have a house down the shore, don't go down the shore, because the shore hospitals are not ready for you." And we're like, "Oh, I is everyone gonna wind up in the hospital? Is that what's gonna happen? Or could you have spread people out more?" You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
If
The
half of North Jersey wound up down the shore and they just weren't keeping in touch with each other, I don't know. Yeah, I don't wanna be that guy.
yeah, yeah. Ugh, good grief. Yeah, quarantine. Glad that stuff is more or less over, I guess. So, how
I don't know,
long?
it's almost midterms.
Yeah, yeah, it'll probably come back next year. And midterms to be over, and then it'd be getting cold and time for everyone to get sick again. Yay!
That's right, it comes back the second that the Republicans name a candidate for the next presidential election.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
I'm not a political guy, but it is pretty fun to watch their playbooks in work and,
Yeah,
uh, circumvent one another.
yeah, yeah. It is kind of just what is that called? Where you're just laughing at the world burning? Is you're a honkler? You're just like,
Oh, I
would you
like
look at
that.
that shit?
If
While
that's a
everyone
word, I'm gonna
else.
start using it.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's a word. I'm sure it's racist or something too, but yeah, definitely classify myself as a honkler as well. Um, so okay, cool. So you get scooped up. You go over to Dubai, or are you on a ship there, or what do they have you doing?
So it's a great question because I was asking all the same questions when I was trying to figure out what the hell we were doing. So um, when they realized I was an HT, they sent me over to the maintenance and repair side of the house,
Okay,
which was great. I worked with all CBs. We were great. We had a great time.
nice.
You know what I mean? It was electricians mates who I had worked with on the ship and CBs. And there's a couple of ratings from the engineering side that can work in the CB unit. So we all
Hmm.
made it work. I learned a lot of stuff. I was running a couple of things for them that they loved me because I was easy to talk to and I could learn pretty much anything.
Oh, that's
Uh,
great.
oh, they loved me. I was doing maintenance on vehicles within a couple of weeks. Then I was running the 3M thing for a minute. I was doing
Oof.
what they had me doing. They had me doing. I was running the vehicles in and out, if you will. What the hell's the name for that? I can't believe I'm blanking.
Motor pool.
There it is.
Well, if they had you running 3M, I'm surprised they weren't, giving you handies. I mean, that's such a nightmare program if they can get anyone to pick that up and run with it.
Well, they figured out I knew what I was doing. So our chief, who he went on to be a chief, I should say, he was our first class at the time.
Hmm.
So he was, as soon as he realized I knew what I was doing with that, it was like, oh, boom. All right, we're going to offload a bunch of my shit onto the, and I love him and he knows what he did too. But,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. No harm, no
uh,
foul. So
exactly. So that was the whole thing. He would load people up and see what they could sink or swim with. And the problem was I always wound up swimming. So,
yeah, yeah. So
uh,
they just threw you more and more cinder blocks until you sank or your time was up.
well, when I got out, it was, and I want to make sure I have time to tell this part of the story, but the
Sure.
way that I got out was pretty great. But so anyway, I'm with maintenance and repair, and they need people that are going to stay stateside to do maintenance on the vehicles that we have in the motor pool.
Hmm.
So they're like, oh well, Burke seems to know what he's doing. We're just going to leave him here,
Yeah.
which seemed like a shitty thing because they were like, "Well, Burke, we're so sorry. You're not going to make all the overseas money, blah blah." And I was like, "Are you telling me that I'm going to be here by myself with like 8 other people,
Yeah.
uh, and I can be done by 1 o'clock every day? Yeah, that's awesome."
Yeah.
So
Works great for me.
yeah, and my best friend at the time in the unit, he was a gunner's mate. He had the office right next door to us,
Hmm.
and he was like king shit around there. So
Yeah.
he kind of called. So he formed the Jacksonville Surf Club, which was an official club within the unit. And
Awesome.
what we would go surfing in the mornings instead of going to PT.
I love it.
So on the late days, we'd come in at 10 o'clock and leave at like 3.
Amazing. What a
Yeah, because we would go
fantastic
surfing
job.
for the. Oh, it's the bet. We'd do dawn patrol every day. So
Yeah.
now every now and then we would get nervous because we'd be at a bar afterwards having like Bloody Marys or something, and then
Sure.
you know the duty phone would ring. We're like, oh shit, they know.
Yeah, yeah. It's always nice to have a drink with bated breath. Like, is
That's
anything
a
gonna happen?
yeah. You're sitting there like, how many miles do I have to run to wear this off so it doesn't show up on a breathalyzer?
Oh yeah, yeah. Holy shit. Yeah. Disperse. They can't breathalyze us all.
It's the truth. But that was a great time. So then all of a sudden somebody got hurt overseas, and they were like, "Oh, Burke, you're going overseas." Because I had all my paperwork in order like I was supposed to,
Mm-hmm.
and so they sent me overseas, and then it turned into a thing where they said you're going to go onto one of the 34-foot patrol boats. So the entire mission overseas was to prevent the USS Cole from ever happening again.
Right, right.
So our mission with 34-foot patrol boats, there, got it, landed it, um, was to provide armed security for ships coming in and out of Dubai.
Oh yeah, that's basically what I did, but in Bahrain. So
That's
it was fun.
so about getting qualified as a crewman and stuff like that and all that
Oh
other
yeah,
jazz.
level 2 swim qual, M240. I mean,
Hmm.
assuming that you use crew served weapons. So
We did. We had. I remember having to get qualified on the 50 and the 240, and then
damn.
obviously all the other stuff we had to do too. So I got like, I was an Eagle Scout, by the way. So when you hand me like a qual sheet or something like that, I always just treat it like, all right, this is a fucking merit badge. That's all I'm doing right now.
Yeah,
That's how I
smart.
approached it.
That's
Yeah.
smart. Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
So I spent a couple of late nights working with the boatswain's mates that we had on the beach detachment, and I got qualified for everything. And they were blown away. The one guy, Yarborough, BM1 Yarborough, he's a great guy. Um, he hated everybody, but he liked me. So he even this is and again his reputation was that he was a giant asshole, but
Sure.
he actually I think he wrote to people overseas and he goes, "You're getting Burke. He's great. He's fantastic. He's a sponge. You're gonna he's gonna pick up whatever you need him to pick up. He's ready to go. I trained him myself. He's good to go."
Awesome.
And then I get overseas and they're like, "Oh, by the way, you're actually doing land based security."
Okay.
If
Do
you
I
could
still
see
get a
the
50 cal?
frustration, can you see the frustration on Andrea's face right now, listeners? Can you feel it?
uh, the old switcheroo.
So they put me on there, and meanwhile, I flew over on Delta Airlines. I didn't fly over on a military vessel because I was a
Right.
replacement. So
Right, right. Yeah. They're not
I
making.
showed up. Yeah, no weapons, no body armor, no nothing. I showed up with my uniforms that I packed in my sea bag, and they're
Uh,
like, "Oh, what are we gonna do with you then?" And I wound up having to wear my senior chief's body armor, and then
oh,
they issued
God.
me weapons when I got overseas, obviously.
Yeah,
But I did
yeah.
land-based security for the whole time I was there.
Oh, man. You know, it would be a little weird if you showed up with your own weapons. I think they might have questions, but.
An issue or
Uh,
two.
yeah.
Well, the flight over, I'll tell you what, I know you're going to get this right away. Your listeners, I think, will eventually get it, especially when you react. But so I'm on a flight from, it was Georgia. Where did we land? Yeah, I think it was a direct flight from Georgia. Yeah, it was Atlanta Airport,
Mhm.
straight flight over to Dubai, right?
Okay.
We landed in UAE, and the guys that I was on, it was 3 rows on the plane or whatever,
Right.
and it's me in the middle, and
Hmm.
on either side of me are guys with combat boots, Carhartt pants.
Yep.
You already know where we're going.
Black polos.
Polo shirts, and then green baseball caps with Velcro on them.
Of course. Yeah.
And I'm sitting there talking to him. I was like, okay, you guys are Blackwater, aren't you?
Yeah. No, we're Z Industries. We changed the name. Yeah.
We're just here to do, no, we're doing a logistics support. That's all we're here for.
Of course. Yeah. Just
The one guy
simple.
started shooting the shit with me after he goes, you don't know how much money we make. You have no idea.
Jeez. Uh, yep. Yeah, you'd see a lot of those guys running around. You see them in the airport or whatever, and it's like some dude making a shit ton of money off the military industrial complex.
Well, there's
Bravo.
that. Well, you and me both know this, what the frame of reference here too, but because he's a good friend of mine, I love him to death, and he's an amazing comic. But sometimes I see Aaron Berg in a place, and the way he'll be dressed, I'm like, is Berg a contractor for the military?
Yeah, it seems that way. Just yeah, just too rednecky to it's almost overcompensating. But yeah, he's always wearing a grunt style shirt or something like
Yeah, he's
that.
like SEAL Team 5'5" or something.
It's about that. Yeah, and that's trying to squeeze an inch on us.
For the record, I adore Aaron Berg.
Oh yeah, same here. Yeah, guy's hilarious. He's a worker. He's always doing something. I should learn to copy that work ethic.
Well, being willing, because in the comedy world too, it's like there's so many of us that I'm not going to say we hide our service, but you don't want to. It's not like a thing you lead with.
Yeah, yeah, that
You
makes
were always
sense.
cool that way because I would. I remember finding out you served. You know what I mean?
You
Not
brought
like you didn't lead with it. You're like, oh, by the way, Navy veteran.
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah,
whenever you're done thanking me for my service, I'll tell you
yeah,
more.
yeah. That would be painfully annoying, and I would only do that to people I don't like. So I do it frequently, but I kind of pick my battles. Um, yeah, on my DD-214, it describes what your job was. The first word in that block is infantry. I shit you not.
No shit.
Yeah, I don't know why it says that. Like it took, I didn't
I'll,
even look at it the day I signed it. Yeah, whatever. And then I had to get it for something. I was like, infantry. This is my yeah, it's my name on it. Like
does the
whatever.
Navy have infantry?
I if they do, I don't recall completing any infantry training, but
Nice.
whatever.
Well, I'll tell
Yeah,
you what, my weird one is this. My final DD-214 actually says Operation Enduring Freedom.
interesting. And you never went
So,
to Afghanistan, so kind of.
well, it was weird where we were was considered a combat zone in Dubai. We were operating in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. So, my
Oh yeah.
cousin Mike that I joined with, Michael Pelez, real, he since passed away, not from the military, but
Oh man. Sorry to
great,
hear.
great. He was a character.
Yeah.
But he served 2 combat tours with the Seabees
Wow.
in Afghanistan, and he actually I think he crashed in MRAP, and then he got in a couple of like legit gunfights over there.
Wow.
And I remember because he would only tell me these stories, and he was like blackout drunk, and he'd be like, "You're the only one I can tell because you get it." And I was like, "I don't think you understand. I don't actually get it."
Yeah. Yeah. I have maybe that much more of a frame of reference than average Joe, but it ain't that much better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he really did a tremendous amount of service for our country, as opposed to me that hung out in Dubai for a couple of months. And I saw an indoor ski slope, and where you know
Awesome.
it
Yeah.
was cool. I won't lie, it was cool.
I if there was an indoor ski resort in Bahrain, I would be broken homeless now. It's just like I'm
Every
lucky.
single day. Yeah, that's how you unwind after work.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's all I would have done the entire time. But yeah, it's isn't it amazing what they can build in the middle of a desert with solid stacks of cash? It's amazing.
Uh, that's how you know we're overpaying for some stuff there.
Most certainly.
We're still not allowed to. That's the greatest part too. Is I'm sure this is public knowledge. We're not allowed to have a permanent structure over there for the military. So everything we have is rented.
Yeah, that sounds cheap.
Yep. Yep. And there's no rent control.
Nope.
I
No,
have a
there's
buddy down
not.
in Memphis that he cracks me up. He used to live in Asbury Park when it was
Mhm.
like still dangerous,
Oh,
and then it
yeah.
got too expensive in Asbury Park for him because gentrification and everything. And then he moved down to as from Asbury to Memphis,
Mhm.
and then he's telling me he goes, Yeah, dude, rent is starting to go up around here. And then a gangland shooting happened like 2 blocks from his house.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's Memphis's version of rent control to
Yeah,
keep things down.
exactly. Just pop a few caps off. Just can practically hear the prices dropping.
Let him know. Oh, that's perfect.
Holy shit. It's not a price drop. No, it's a body dropping, but close enough.
Just hear that Walmart commercial playing in the background.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Awesome. So, all right, you're Bahrain. You have to do landside security. You have my condolences. That's you know, harbor patrol is where it's at because it's like you go out looking like hardcore, ready to do crazy shit, and then you sit underneath the shade of your gun and read a book or take a nap, bullshit with your
It is
coxswain.
amazing how boring that can get very quickly. Because I
Oh yeah,
remember from being a guy that was working engineering spaces, where you're just like chilling in a workshop or whatever, to be like, all right, cool, I'm carrying a gun, I'm doing some stuff right now. And then you're just like, oh, wow, this is all right. I understand why
oh yeah,
everybody has a laptop full of movies right now.
yep. Oh
It's,
yeah, it's insanely boring. I've never been so bored in my entire life as standing post. It's horrendous.
that's
Well,
how they get you.
at least though, with being on a security boat, you're out far enough where it's not like anyone can really sneak up on you. Like you'll kind of see them coming. You got time to clean up and look like you know what you're doing, or someone will tip you off. Landside, you got to at least look like you're awake at all times, or you're screwed.
Yeah, they got you on that one. That was
Yeah.
there was a couple of guys that got into trouble overseas with that one too.
Oh, I'm sure.
Actually, my gimmick used to be if I knew the chief pretty well that was coming around and checking people, like
Yeah.
because you would have it was so hot over there that you would have different watches in different areas. It'd be like, oh, you're going to be in a 50 cal tower. Um,
Yeah.
you're going to be in blah 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 over here. And then there was like, but they would rotate you where if you were going to be out exposed to the elements, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
would then get your next watch for 4 hours would be you sitting in like an air conditioned space, like checking IDs when people come in.
Right.
So my running move for the time frame was if I knew the chief that was coming around doing like check-ins on the different posts and stuff like that, I would when I knew he was coming by, I would drop my pants. Um, so I'd expose my ass, and then I would drop down to the ground, and it would look like somebody. It looked like somebody just got done with me, if you will. Anyway, and it got to the point where like the first couple of times there was genuine panic when they walked in, and then finally it was like Burke, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Beautiful. Ah, that's great. You got
No,
to keep them on their toes. They think they're keeping you on your toes, but it's the other way around if you know how to play your cards.
and I found more often than not that they respected you for showcasing a little personality,
Yeah.
um, or just being like, "Hey, listen, that this kid's, that this isn't." They have to dumb everything down in the military, as I'm sure you're aware.
Break it down Barney style. Yeah.
So when they can see that, hey, we're kind of insulting this kid's intelligence, they get a
Yeah.
little bit looser with you. So
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Cool. And overall, how long were you in Dubai for?
Dubai was what I think 4 months in total. We were home for
Oh.
Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's not
Um,
bad.
yeah, we did Thanksgiving, and then I was home. That was the best part though was uh, my command was clever. And
Yeah.
again, this is like the only podcast I can say this stuff on. Um, so my command was very clever. We did a 96-hour Liberty chit upon arrival back
Nice.
in the United States, right?
Awesome.
And then we wanted to go into a 96-hour one for Thanksgiving, which was the next weekend. So what we did was we had to do a muster. We'd have one muster in between the two 96s to not have like an 8 days off, with pay kind of a thing,
Right.
without affecting anyone's leave. So what wound up happening was you mustered by phone that day.
Ah.
So, yeah, I remember down. I was down in Tampa, and I remember calling in to work from Tampa to Jacksonville. Be like, "Hey, guys, I'm here by the way. If you need me." They're like, "Burke, are you actually here? If we needed you?" And I was like, "No." I go, "Okay, it's okay. Well, no problem. We'll talk to you then. See
Yeah.
you. See you when you get back." So,
Awesome.
but yeah, it was a good time.
Oh,
That was
that's cool.
yeah. I think it wound up being like over, I think it was like 5.5, almost 6 years in total, but with that break in service too. So that was weird. I
Yeah.
could never,
Yeah.
and if you go by my DD-214s, it's like 4 years, I think.
Okay.
I
Okay.
have two separate ones.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Anything more than 90 days, they'll issue a new one. Well, and I still to this day have no idea how time and service accrues. I mean, I active duty, that's obvious, but like reserves, IRR, it starts to get real cloudy because I was active, but then I was IRR for almost 3 years, and I'd only been like a second class like maybe 9 months before I got out. Got off active duty.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, so then I come back to the reserves and they're like, "Oh, you're taking the E6 exam." What? I never learned how to be an E5. I have no idea what's going on. Um, because somehow, some way, my IRR time counted as time and rate. It's like I did nothing except drink heavily, get fat, and go to school. So yeah.
Well, that was since I was an Eagle Scout. Upon arrival in boot camp, they consider that time and rate. So I actually was never an E1 or an E2. I started as an E3,
Perfect. That's
right?
great.
Which they pay you for, but they don't recognize the rank until then. But it counts as time and rank. So upon arrival at my first ship, right out of A school, I was able to take the E4 exam, and I killed it because
Nice.
you're fresh out of school. So I remember putting on E4 right away, and there was a couple of guys like, oh, you didn't even really earn it. Blah blah blah. And I was like, yeah, it's sorry guys, I didn't mean to be better than you. All
Yeah.
right, I wasn't trying.
Yeah. It's not my fault. Yeah, I had more than 30 college credits or something. So yeah, I had E3 even though I was a complete idiot and had no idea what was happening. So
That's how it works.
yeah, yeah, it's just basically a tincture of just being older. Like you probably have gone to school for 2 semesters, so you're ready to go.
A little life experience gets you far away.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was a Girl Scout. I had my Gold Award, but I don't think that accounts for anything. Eagle Scout, you actually have to do some shit.
I
Gold
think
Award.
gold would have done the same thing for you though.
Well, I think I probably just submitted my college credits because it was easier to get my hands
Yeah,
on
it wouldn't have done
paperwork.
anything extra for you. It would have just done the same thing.
Right,
Right.
right. So
My
that
sister
makes
has her gold award, but she's a bad person.
sense. Yeah, but so did she farm out her gold award work to like slave labor, or her being a bad person's unrelated?
No, her project was actually to reinstall apartheid in South Africa. It was very upsetting for all of us. You know, no, nobody was happy. We're like, why are you doing this?
Hilarious.
We have a lot of explaining to do to our friends. You understand that now?
First step, re-imprison Mandela. I mean, that goes
But
without saying.
she had a vision, Andrea. She had a vision.
How's that going for her?
We're not sure. It's
Yeah.
no longer incommunicado.
Oh, damn it.
No, she's a good person. So
Yeah, yeah.
she's actually great. I love her. Her and her wife are great people. We actually,
Oh,
it's
cool.
fun to, um, it's good to have people you like to bust chops with. But she would, if I said that to her,
Definitely.
she'd be like throwing her arms up in the air right now, like, "Are you serious? People are
Yeah.
gonna think I'm a racist now."
Yeah, but if you own it and lead with "I'm a racist," whether it's true or not, they don't know what the hell to do. It's
Well, the
perfect.
more ridiculous that's why I always laugh at that stuff. The more ridiculous you are with it, the more people are like, okay, so this isn't serious,
Yeah, yeah,
you know.
yeah. You got
But
to go with the absurd.
if you slide a little thing in here every now and then, that's when you know they're real racist. They're like, well,
Yeah. No, they make it a little too obvious.
yeah, they you ever notice it never rains on a Jewish girl's wedding, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I don't know, probably because they're indoors. What do you want me to say, Earl? Yeah. Um. All right. So you're out for the second time. Um. You've got some welding experience as a civilian. Is that the field that you go back into? And how did you get into comedy?
Well, I mean, I was the funny guy wherever I went, and then, but I was so dumb because I was like, I'm just gonna be like a funny like welder, or I'll be the funny guy on the ship.
Right.
Um, and then I was gonna be a cop. We thought for the longest time. Like I actually got preliminary hired by the NYPD,
Wow.
um, but I was still overseas, so I couldn't class up.
Right,
So,
right.
and that was actually funny because the lady that I was working with on the phone over there, she was going through my paperwork and stuff. She was so rude to me all the time, and
Mm.
I said, "Ma'am, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to class up on time." She goes, "And why is that?" And I was like, "Well, ma'am, I'm over in Dubai right now. I'm deployed with the military." And she goes, "Honey, you should have told me that." And all of a sudden, she got so cool. She couldn't have been nicer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I missed classing up with them, and then Port Authority actually preliminary hired me. I went through the background check for them and everything, and then I remember this is the dumbest thing ever, but I remember opening for Gilbert Gottfried that weekend for the first time.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I just, but
That's
I
amazing.
could say the most fucked up things I wanted to say on stage, and his crowd just ate everything up because his crowd was like they knew it was a no holds barred show,
Yeah.
and and then I sat there and was like, do I really want to check and be careful about everything I say now because it could affect a future arrest that I might have or something, or
Yeah.
decorum or whatever, a personal conduct thing.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't do it. There's some comics that are really great, like Mark DeMeo is a great comic.
Hmm.
Um, he was able to do his 20 years in the NYPD and get out.
Wow.
Um, I don't think I have that,
No.
so
No,
so
it's
I bailed.
yeah. That's an enormous handicap for sure. Yeah.
Totally, but it was. I started doing stand up in Jacksonville, and then the girl I was with at the time, she kind of realized she was like seeing it slowly. She goes, "Oh wow, he likes this more than he likes me." Um,
Oh. Yeah.
yeah, and I get it, and I have no animosity or anything like that. But it was like, she could see the world, whatever she had signed. I will say this actually. She told me one time when I told her I wanted to be a comic, that how unattractive that was.
Really?
And I remember like pivoting because she was like, she was a very pretty girl. So I was like, you'd say anything to save the conversation. And I was like, oh, well, I'll probably just go up being like a cop or something. You know what I mean? Because stand up's like a pipe dream.
Yeah.
And the problem was I was pretty good at stand up. So
Yep. Yep.
yeah, it
Wow.
sucks. That's
That's
how they trap you.
yeah. Well, yeah. Some of them. So okay, so you're in Jacksonville. You get started with stand up down there, and then, but I mean, you're back in Jersey now. So is this after you and the lady split up and you came back north?
Yeah, we split up. We had a whole house dispute that went on for a little while because I had bought the house with Dubai money that I had made.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then me and her split. She at first it was cool, and then it just got real ugly once I had left town because then it was it got shitty.
Yeah.
But for more on that, I think there's a whole I think I have a whole YouTube video about that story. But
And I would direct listeners to your appearance on the Irish Goodbye podcast. You gave a pretty
there
good
it is.
rundown on there as well.
Oh, good old Cannon and Feeney, man. Those are
Yeah.
nice boys.
Yep. Yep.
You get that then. You know the whole story.
Yes. Yes. But all right. So, but you come back up north, and of course you've been doing comedy ever since. And then you're telling me earlier about the line of work that you're up to now, which does involve clearing lines of beer.
Yeah, instead of clearing shit out of VCHT systems on board a ship, I now clean beer lines in bars down the Jersey Shore. So
Beautiful. Yeah.
that's where I'll be in about 12 hours, Andrea.
All right. That's you know where you're going to be. Well, and when people say they want a job with travel. I mean, you have that. Maybe not what people be envisioning, but yeah, no
No,
bother.
I dig it because you're hanging out in bars all day. Usually most of the time people are pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then best crew I've had, most laid back boss I've ever had too. He's about as great as so when I have like a weekend of a gigs or something coming up, he just kind of lets me fly. So
Oh, that's
is it
great.
yeah, it's working for right now, so I'm going to take that as a win.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. If you can pay the bills and it allows you that flexibility where you've got a boss who doesn't really give a shit what you say on stage. That's a pretty big deal. You know,
He even came to a show. Him and his brother came to a show. That's how cool they are.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
That
you got
is
to take
great.
those as wins when you can.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're not going to find that in every job. I mean, so many places are so sanitized. It's oh man, if they find out that I even have a Twitter account, I'm going to get fired, or something like that. So,
Well, my general rule of thumb for like blue collar manual labor jobs is I don't work anywhere that has an HR department.
mm,
That's kind of
brilliant.
where I'm at. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
perfect.
Well, yeah, 'cause it's rough work and I don't think HR is bad. I think if people have legit grievances, they need to have a system, but the system gets abused all the time.
Oh, for sure.
So, but
Yeah.
if there's no HR system, I'm like, "Oh, cool, you guys don't have an HR department? Alright." So I can moon some people every now and then when I have to.
Yeah, you're hopefully you're working with a small enough group. You know, there's some cohesion. Yeah, you can joke around like that. Whatever else, informal resolution system. I seem to remember that from my Navy time. So
Aha, that throwing out the old words.
yeah, but yeah. Otherwise, it's just documented grievances. Sounds. I think that is the lowest circle of hell. Is has got an HR department. So yeah, I'm the same way. If I can stay away from that, I've won.
Well, I remember when I was working at the Home Depot, that was my first job after the military, but I was working at the Home Depot, and they just kept writing me up all the time for stuff that wasn't and, I just remember telling them, because I forget what it wa they promoted me twice, but they never replaced me, so I was now doing 2 rungs up the ladder's job
Yeah.
for bottom rung of the ladder wage with no one beneath me to help me get anything done, and
Uh,
at some point, I was like, "Alright, well, now that I know you guys are just out to get me."
yeah. Yeah. Seems that way.
I remember signing the paperwork, and I was like, I signed the second one. I was like, and he goes, "Oh, I just need you to sign here and here." And I was like, "Oh yeah, no, don't worry, I'm good at these now.
Yeah.
I've been doing them enough."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Yeah, I hate doing these." I was like, "Oh, I mean, you could just like not do them."
Such great stories, and really appreciate you sharing your experience. Do you have anything to plug?
Certainly. Number one, I want to plug my friend Andrea's podcast called Decompression Chamber. But if you guys want to check it out, Escape from Jacksonville, my first full special, maybe my only full special. We'll see what happens. Is available for free over on YouTube right now. It's been very well received so far. I worked that's 10 years worth of writing jokes, and that's all I got to show for it. So if anybody wants to, and if you say decompression chamber in the comments, I'll know that you came from Andrea's people. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great special, and I'll put the link down in the video description on YouTube so people can just follow the link.
You're the shit. You know that.
Well, thank you again so much for coming on. Great stories, and have a great rest of your week.
Goddamn pleasure, lady. Good seeing you. All right.
All right, take care.